got inside of me.
Hello?
Chance.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just staying inside like the rest of us.
Yeah. Orlando, right? Orlando, Florida?
Yeah. It's not quite as congested as LA, but I'd say people are dumber when it comes to staying inside.
Yeah. I saw you posted a video of people just going outside and
Yeah. That's,
having gatherings and protests.
Yeah, there's like a teacher's parade, and this kid, just groups of kids, like 10, 15 kids standing in a group, like yelling and screaming right outside my door. I'm like, where are the parents?
Wow. Let's see.
And I guess they could all be brothers and sisters, but probably not.
Let's see how it all plays out. Huh?
Yep.
Who knows? What do you think? What do you think of the situation? Like how long it's going to last and things like that?
Like what's going to happen? What's going down?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll probably be inside for the whole summer.
The whole summer?
I bet you like till, well, not the whole summer, maybe like June, July. But we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think it's this weird mix because, people like there's this big, I guess, debate. People are saying, we get people back to work, which is true. But then there's the other side of we want to not keep this thing spreading. And there is some kind of happy balance because you can look at, lives that are lost due to coronavirus are very objective. That was the direct cause. But when it comes to economy, people start dying for reasons that are, related to the economy, but you don't necessarily know objectively, if that makes sense. It's not as direct and obvious.
Yeah.
Because you could argue, oh, well, if they had more money, they could pay for this. But, well, if stuff was cheaper, then they could have afforded better health care, But if you cause massive inflation, it doesn't matter if someone gets $1,000 a month.
How about like depression and those kinds of things too, right? People are depressed. And
sad. I think that
mental health.
This economy has been on, basically, it's like a drug addict that keeps getting stimulus, right? I'm not sure if you follow quantitative easing and all that stuff, where the Federal Reserve, the central bank, injects money into the economy.
Quantitative what?
Quantitative easing.
Easing.
Yeah, it's basically when the Federal Reserve prints up a bunch of money and just injects it into the economy to give it a little boost, but it's kind of like giving yourself a shot of, I don't know, it's like taking meth or something, It gets you all excited and productive
dopamine,
first,
huh?
But then
shot of dopamine.
Yeah, it gets you all excited at first, but then before you know it, you need more just to keep going at a normal rate, and they've done that multiple times. And now with coronavirus, this is the one time where you could argue it was kind of needed, that kind of injection of cash. But we've been doing it for so long that, eventually I think we're going to see serious inflation.
Interesting times. Let's see what happens, man.
Yep.
Yeah. You're a smart guy, so I wanted to hear your thoughts. I mean, you're part of the video game programmer for Call of Duty. What have you been up to all these years? Like, man, that's been like that was like over 10 years ago.
Animator. Yeah, it sucks. Well, it doesn't suck. I've done a lot of cool stuff, but so after Call of Duty Ghosts, which was the last Call of Duty I worked on, I got burned out. Moved to Brazil, lived in Rio for 2.5 years, and lived in Sao Paulo for 6 months.
We got to hang out one day on the beach, right over there in Rio.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was awesome. Yeah, it's I miss it. I kind of wish I was there right now.
Yeah. But it's craziness right there too, huh? I mean, all my friends are paying attention at all. It's starting to spread out over there. Yeah.
What's that?
Like people aren't paying attention. It seems like just depends, right, where you go. Like in probably Copacabana and those places, like they're taking care, but overall, like a lot of places they're not. I guess it's the same here, right, in Florida and Orlando. Wherever.
You're saying it's a little rougher. Like, it's I was there in Rio for 2.5 years. I didn't get robbed once, so it's a lot of just. But I have friends that are Brazilian who've been robbed like 5 times. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's. I mean, I was very tactical about when I walk in certain areas that I wasn't familiar with at certain times. If when I first got there, I was trained at Novo União.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I was there for like 3 weeks until I got my first like serious jiu-jitsu injury. They kept me out for a year. Some little 15-year-old blue belt that was just like fresh meat, you know. That was, I think he Americaned me so fast I just couldn't tap before it messed me up.
So
I would walk back to my home. No, my shoulder, or would it be Kimura?
Okay.
Yeah, messed up my shoulder, and I could have healed sooner if I would have done chest exercises. It wasn't until I started doing like bench press that I could start using it. I wish I would have known that, but I would walk home and I would just like keep my jiu-jitsu belt outside of my backpack, just as like, you know, everyone there knows jiu-jitsu, like what it is. So if you're walking and you see a random person, you know, and they're 6'3" and have a jiu-jitsu belt, you're probably going to pick someone else. So I would just, as like a warning to nature, I would just keep that out of my backpack,
so
hanging out.
You're smart too, street smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like who are you gonna mess with? Like the random sized dude who looks like he just got out of the office, or the 6'3" guy with the jiu-jitsu belt hanging out of his backpack. You know.
Yeah.
I guess if you're on drugs, it won't matter. You just attack whoever, but just use tactics to stay alive. Yeah, I was out there, and then I came back and started a VR company, and now I'm in Orlando.
You started a VR?
Virtual reality conferencing company.
So how does that work?
Have you tried VR yet? Like a good VR experience?
No, I haven't.
Not one person has like gotten you in VR at your gym?
Nope.
That's incredible. You have to do that as soon as you can.
Okay. Maybe we can
set it up. I'm sure someone has an Oculus Quest.
Virtual
so basically,
reality.
you're on the point. Yeah. It's kind of the point where you actually feel like you're there. You know, you kind of, it's almost like you're traveling more than you're playing a game, if that makes sense. It kind of feeds all your senses that you need to give you that sense of being present somewhere. And so leveraging that, if you take a bunch of people and network them all in VR together, you now feel like you're having a meeting with someone in a real place, just like you would in real life. Much better experience than video conferencing.
Wow. All right. So I gotta get on that, right? So we can get our jiu-jitsu community together again.
Yeah, the problem is you only have
meantime.
Yeah, except you don't have any like a full body. You only have an upper torso, hands, and a head.
Okay.
So, but you could put up videos. You could actually put like a tutorial on the wall. You know, play a video. Almost have a projector in the room, and then talk about it. You just couldn't do like full body VR because that's not really a consumer thing. Too many things you'd have to wear.
So what do you have to wear to do that? What kind of technology?
It's just controllers and a headset, and the controllers and the headset are being tracked.
So the headset goes over your eyes?
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like goggles.
Yeah, like big goggles kind of. And since we have the information of what your hands and your head are doing because they're being tracked, we can apply that to an avatar and then give the avatar body language in real time. So when you move, it moves the exact same way. So if you're meeting someone, you're in this 3D space with them, and you're seeing them move, their avatar move just like they are in real life. And so it gives a more real vibe. You know, having like a small little video conferencing window in front of you on your computer.
So that's the next step on towards that, to show that we really are living in a simulation.
Pretty much. I mean, the Matrix is here. We just haven't invested in it much. I mean, I'm not sure you heard of Ready Player One. It's also like a similar idea. People living in VR because it's better than the real world. Interesting concept, but yeah, it's basically the technology is here for the Matrix. We're like Matrix 0.1, because you do feel like you've gone somewhere. It's kind of crazy. It'll take people that, like, a good VR experience will make people that really only believe in this physical world and that's it, and make them question and think, hey, maybe this is not it. Maybe there's something more to it. Because I just went inside of a computer game and I felt like I was there, and it was almost good enough to convince me that I was there.
Wow, that's crazy, man. How long were you in the game for?
In what?
How long were you in the game for? that you were convinced?
Which one? I mean, there's a lot of games.
I mean, though you said you were in one and you were like totally convinced that you were, that it was
Oh,
real life, more so than your real one.
Yeah, there's like I just finished Half-Life Alyx, which is basically the game that everyone's been waiting for. The Half-Life, the original, and Half-Life 2, were kind of like monumental games for first-person shooters. Kind of pushed the bar forward and made that kind of the new standard of greatness. And now with Half-Life VR, it's done the same thing for virtual reality games. Everything's so polished, the environments are incredible. You really feel like you're in a living world. But I will usually do I just finished it, and I was doing like 3.5 hours a day probably.
Damn.
Maybe 4 hours.
Damn.
Over like 4 days.
That part of me is like, it's scary, but I mean, everything like the artificial intelligence and everything else, like we're already there, huh? It's happening. We're going to be more in the virtual reality, living that more so than our real one.
Yeah.
Like the Avatar movie.
I would love to get you in Half-Life Alyx to try it, because as a first VR experience, it would blow your mind that we've come this far.
So what do I need to get started? What do I need to buy?
Well, if you're going to get in VR, I'd actually recommend getting the Oculus Quest. So there's two kind of types of VR. There's all-in-one VR, which is the computer, everything is in the headset. There's no wires. But then there's PC VR, where your headset is basically just a monitor with no CPU, nothing else in it, and then you connect to a computer, and your computer's doing all the processing. And so that gives you a lot more power than you'd have, because you're essentially using like a cell phone chip on the all-in-one systems. But it's nice having that freedom of being able to move around without any wires. So I'd recommend the Oculus Quest. It's probably still out of stock, but otherwise the best gaming experience is going to be on a PC. That's what I was doing Half-Life on.
What's it called? The same game?
Half-Life Alyx.
Half-Life Alyx. Okay.
Yeah. But I wouldn't, suggest buying a gaming PC and a VR setup just to try it, because you're looking at, $1,500.
Where would I go to try it?
There's probably somebody at your gym that has a PC VR setup. Just ask around. Maybe they'll invite you over.
Man, it's crazy, huh? Like I remember years ago we were talking about what was that game? The you have like a family and it was like super basic
family, like Sims or something?
The Sims, yeah, The Sims. I remember you talking to me about The Sims and creating something with jiu-jitsu.
Huh. I don't remember, but
yeah, you were telling me something like that. I just remembered, pretty much like The Sims, And then now with all this, I would have never thought of myself, we're teaching online on Zoom, every day, and because that's all we can do. We have to stay home. We have to stay separated, So that's all we can do, and at least we can see each other and communicate.
Can I visit your Zoom classes from
Yes,
Orlando?
of course, yeah. Of course.
Cool. I have to get
I teach today at noon. We're gonna do like tack fit, like more. We're gonna do some solo bodyweight movements, jiu-jitsu things, but it's a lot of tack fit, which is all integrated.
Baseball bat tai chi.
Pretty much, but much higher level, with all the latest neuroscience and, I'm sure there's some kind of virtual reality thing that we can do in there to get more grounded, to get more connected within.
I haven't looked into tack fit much, but it seems like it would be a very good complementary form of exercise to jiu-jitsu, because it's a lot of slower, supporting your body weight,
and Men's Health called it the world's smartest workout.
Really? Let's see.
Yeah. There's so much.
Yeah, you've been doing that for a while now, huh?
All in the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know if I told you, but I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Maybe 2012, 2012, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And so
how does it affect you physically?
So when I first got into the UFC, in Nevada and California, they make you do a brain MRI. And so they found some lesions when I got into the UFC, and some smaller ones, and they're like, we're going to keep an eye on it. They didn't tell me anything, but they did pull me in the office. I remember that, but I didn't think anything of it, right? And then 5 years later, they had me come in again, and it grew. And so they were like, hey, we can't let you fight. This looks like something, and then they did a bunch of tests, and that, disconnected. And I'm just, you just, if you're a fighter, like you're just stubborn, right? Like, I'm good. You just keep pushing, but there's definitely some things wrong. And so then, there's a lot of disconnections, like numbness. And I just thought I was just being too hardcore for too many years, that those things were happening. And then, it took me about a few months. And then like, you have MS. And then they gave me a stack of drug books to take and like, hey, let us know which one you want to take, like just like that, And then when I was like leaving, all the nurses, all the people in the office were like, sorry, basically I'm gonna die, And then I asked the doctor, hey, can I still do jiu-jitsu? And he said, sure, since I'm not getting hit in the head. And then I registered for a jiu-jitsu tournament, and then I went like on a world tour because I just wanted to get everything out of my system. Because I was like, man, you start to do research, right? And you're like, man, guys are in their wheelchair.
Yeah, I think I remember you just had like a little smashing tour for about a year. So
3.5 years. Yeah, 3.5 years, and then I kind of
3.5 years. All right.
Yeah, 3.5 years. I went all over the place, all over Europe, Asia, Amazon. I mean, come on, everywhere, all over the country, all over U.S. And then I had like a, kind of a spiritual moment, and then it brought me to TACFIT, and my subconscious brought me to TACFIT, and then I started to feel myself getting better internally, right? Like I hadn't dreamt for like 10 years, and there's a lot of things that weren't wrong. I used to read a lot and study a lot when I was younger, and I wasn't able to like anymore, and stuff started to come back. Stuff started to kind of wake up, And
like your desire to just read, or your focus?
Just everything. Yeah, everything. Like my focus, my ability to learn, to read, to just everything. Like just even I had a hard time, like honestly, like even speaking and walking.
Did you change anything else other than like diet or anything like that?
Well, everything got in line, Of course, like I started to eat better, and I started to get dialed in because I wanted to feel better, So I just kind of started to get dialed in with everything, And I listened to like my mentor, Scott Sonnen. And I just kind of basically listened to everything that he said, and everything seemed to work, Everything worked for me, And just the years going by, and it's like super hard work, all those certifications, and I did all of them. But I started to feel like the harder I trained, like the more healthier I got. Of course, all the injuries and stuff, right, from jiu-jitsu and fighting, and things just started to work better. I just started to feel better. I had no more pain. And I had a hard time putting on my seatbelt, in the car because I couldn't twist,
Yeah.
What's crazy is I could still compete and fight though, when it was time, like considering, but I could still do that, but then the rest of the day I'd be a wreck, It's crazy what our nervous system can do, what our mental capabilities, right? And so that's why it's so fascinating to hear all these like virtual reality. We're going deeper right into the mind in a way, and that's kind of where it's at.
You could actually, for a lot of the TACFIT stuff, I know that it has to do with a lot of you're working with that big fat baseball bat. I'm not sure what you call it.
Club bell. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like a kettlebell, and then you have a club bell, right?
Yeah, and like you're kind of holding them in position, slowly moving them in a range of motion, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so I think in VR you could actually do a lot of that as long as you're not, worried about leg stuff, where you could see like a ghost version of yourself. Like imagine like a 3D ghost that's showing you where to move. And you're trying to match that ghost, Does it make any sense?
It does. I was thinking that, because sometimes we do some exercises with the club bells where we're even like sitting down, we're flexing everything of the legs, but we're just, we're taking the leg, we're flexing it, but we're just really focusing on only using the upper body, right? Focusing on that.
Yeah.
So I think totally could be something that could happen.
Yeah, there's definitely some fitness things you can do in VR, and things that you couldn't do in real life. Like if you wanted, like for instance, you could motion capture your mentor, right? Doing this. Let's assume that he's the best one out there at TACFIT, right? You can motion capture, like get his animation data, and then in VR you could actually put a human model like that's doing the same animation, the same movements, but make it kind of translucent like a ghost, and then try to match his movements one-to-one. And then with software, what you could do is you could actually calculate how perfect you did that, So like if it was on point, you might get a 98% rating, but if it was a little off, maybe a 92.
Man, it's
and I'm
crazy.
just thinking of ways
The Matrix is upon us. We just don't see it in daily
It is.
life, huh? But
You gotta try it, man.
Oh
I'm trying to think who in the game industry trains with you. There's so many game developers in LA.
I just got to put it
Is
out there.
James Uloff still over there?
James, yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's cool.
James, who else? Gus, remember Gus? Gus
Gus.
Palmos.
Oh yeah. Filipino Gus.
Yeah.
Goose.
Goose. We call him Sexy Legs, because he'd always wear tidy whities in the locker room.
Yeah, isn't he a
Professor Sexy Legs? He's in the National Guard.
Medical. National Guard. Did he join the National Guard recently?
No, he's been in it for for a while.
Oh, okay, but does he do something medical in the National Guard?
Yes, he does. He does. I forgot exactly what he does.
Okay, so that's what it was. I knew it was something medical related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, actually, what happened is, when I stopped training for I want to say 7 years, 6 years, and it's one of those things where it's like, when you're in the mode, you're doing it, you're training, you're being consistent, and you're like, why would I ever stop doing this?
Right.
But then you stop, and then you have a hard time getting yourself back into it. But when you get there, you're like, why didn't I do this earlier? Mm-hmm. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick it up again until I was back in Brazil, which is, of course, no excuses, right? I'm in Brazil. I can't not train jiu-jitsu in Brazil.
Yeah. You trained at Novo União, huh? With Andre Penderas?
Yeah. I wasn't there very long,
You got hurt.
But I did see I saw Jose Aldo training there, the same classes. Claudia, what's her last name? Gardell or something? Claudia. Yeah. Yeah, a few fighters. And it's cool because I'm in there looking around. I'm seeing all these fighters that I've watched in the UFC or other, other leagues, and I'm kind of geeking out, not saying anything. But then word gets out that I worked on Call of Duty, and then all the fighters want to talk to me I'm the cool guy. I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You started to fight. Well, I guess we started doing jiu-jitsu together, and then those years back in Encino, and then you went to Brazil. I remember that because you went on a Call of Duty. What was the name of the game? Call of Duty, right? Yeah, Call of Duty. Tour, and then you ended up in Brazil, and you're like, man, people are just they're so cool, they're so nice, and you kind of fell in love with the country, and then you ended up staying there.
And I'm just married a Brazilian. So
you married a Brazilian.
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of Brazilian now.
Was that your same girlfriend that you had there?
Yeah, the one that I've had for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, I've been out of touch.
Yeah.
Let's go see your I see your posts once in a while, but I don't see all the personal things. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't post too much stuff on personal stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
How many years ago did you get married?
Oh, we just got married back in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've been together for 7 years. So. Yeah. So I love Brazil. I'm gonna hopefully go back to Rio this year. We'll see how things are looking virus wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else is what's new with you? I mean,
so I got involved with TACFIT. The last 4 or 5 years. I just started training. It really changed my life. It kind of gave me my life back, and so I got just so invested. Well, just I cared about it so much, and I did a world tour with that, and so I got to learn, meet all the communities around the world, and you can kind of see the same things happening with everybody that trains in it, and so I became involved business wise as well. With TACFIT. So I'm their new CEO, and that kind of happened recently. And
cool. So if you're CEO, then what's the founder doing? Is he just
he works for the government, the U.S. government. He's a human optimization scientist, so he works for that. But I'm hoping to bring him back around. Once we'll see how everything. Hopefully,
so he's kind of
back more
super high end government. Athletic trainer in a sense.
Yeah. I'm not sure, just optimization things. Optimization things, and his specialty is breathing, breathing. Yeah. So, but hopefully can be a consultant for us, and he did some workshops this year and last year, which is really cool. Just talks about just goes down the rabbit hole of breath and movement and the club bell and just all the science and neuroscience and stuff behind everything.
How many different TaxFit gyms are
there? Just because they didn't have business kind of things in place, but there's mine in LA, and then there's people around the world that that do it in their gyms, but there was no per se like TaxFit gyms.
No center.
Right. But we're gonna change that. We're gonna have TaxFit academies around the world. That's where I come into play, right? With just my background, right, of having facilities for over 20 years now. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect fit. I'm sure most of it translates to this. So
yeah, and obviously I'm biased towards jiu-jitsu, so I think it's the perfect kind of model with jiu-jitsu. So
yeah, and you could probably find other jiu-jitsu gyms that also want to open up TaxFit. Because there's some that do like CrossFit. There's usually some kind of other training. Something else to train in to complement your jiu-jitsu at a lot of gyms. So you could good combo.
Yeah. Especially like situations like this, right? Because jiu-jitsu, you need a partner, right? There's only so many solo drills, but TaxFit, it's all kind of integrated in there. Yeah, the U.S. Marshal Service.
More solo stuff.
It's all like it's with yourself. It's a martial art with yourself, and the battle is kind of keeping your heart rate 60 to 80% of your heart max, your breath with the correct structure, and then the movement, right?
Yeah.
And so I was keeping that good technique, And so when you lose your technique, your shoulders come up, your elbows go out, your structure starts to weaken. So it's always keeping that. And so we have like regressions and progressions, to keep the structure, to keep the strong structure. And then of course, then you keep your breath. And so that's the game, And if you start to overbreathe,
a lot of breathing exercises.
Yeah. So the breath is all in there. Yeah. It's just like, so deep.
Would you say would, for instance, maybe help your cardio with
man, big time. It's like it's all the right stuff. It's crazy. Like we had my friend, she became a team leader. She became a firefighter at 40, and just outdoing guys in their mid 20s. It's just because like the intelligence, the tactical breathing with the just the understanding of yourself, right? Of all those things. Like my actual introduction was my first loss in MMA for the UFC. It was my my UFC debut, UFC jitters and all that, right? But I was like
Kurt Pellegrino.
No, it was Roger Huerta.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so man, I had never been so tired in my life. Between the second and third round, the ref's like, "You ready to go?" Steve Mazzagatti, whoever the ref was. It was like foggy, I wasn't getting enough oxygen. And then he wrote like a blog and he helped me. We did like a training protocol after that, and that's how I got introduced to the system. And he was like, "Yeah, you're over breathing. Yeah, or you're breathing too much, right? You're hyperventilating." And I'm like, "What? Like I wasn't breathing enough." And he's like, "No, you were over you over breathing, like basically, right? Breathing through the chest and all that. So it's like not just breathing, but it's like, I'm breathing through my chest. I'm not getting the air that I need. I'm not getting the oxygen. I'm not getting, I'm not breathing right to do what I need to do, And so just having that awareness of that, man, it would have been a game changer. Even if I would have been, maybe felt not in control because of the UFC jitters and all that, fighting on pay-per-view and Mandalay Bay and all that. That would have been good, but it just changed my whole mindset, of just how deep it went. But it took me like 10 years to get around to it. One of the things, actually, the thing that really got me that I never stopped thinking about is I got thrown on my head, and I was in really bad shape. Usually you take like pain pills or I don't know what you just have to like rest. But he showed me some movements to do to move my neck, and so every time I moved my neck, I had pain. I did the neck movement that he told me to do. And man, instead of like it being like 4 to 6 weeks or I don't know weeks, and then it also never really getting better fully, man, I totally recovered like in a week.
All right, that's cool.
In a week, in a week.
Yeah.
And so it's something I never forgot about, And then when all this like MS thing kind of happened, like my subconscious kind of just like led me, and he always took the time to talk to me and to help me out. and he was a grappler too. You know, he has like super crazy good like leg locks, and he's just brilliant. You know, like genius type guy. Genius, not type, he's genius. You know, for sure. He just thinks differently. You know, and because he had like he has like a TED talk too. You know, like a traumatic childhood.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, Scott Sonnen is his name.
Huh. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. So how long have you been doing this podcast?
I started in I think November last year, October, November.
Oh, okay. For a while, I thought this was some kind of quarantine thing. You're like, got to do something while I'm stuck inside.
Well, usually I have guests. You know, we come upstairs in the gym. We have we have a studio, so I'm basically gonna put your pictures in when you talk, and I'm recording myself actually right now.
Nice.
And then just kind of put it up for YouTube at least, you know, and then all the
you gotta dig up that
podcasts.
Fight.
What's that? I think I was actually on the Messenger. And I have pictures of us, you know, with the cowboy hats on and stuff back in the day.
Yeah. We look like gay cowboys for sure.
broke back Costa Rica.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy, man, when I think about it, right? Like you cornered me for my fight in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
What are the cool things that we do? Man, you had me
I mean, I was in the corner with a video camera, but I was basically behind the scenes before you came out.
Right.
And that was crazy, man. That whole thing that went down with the judges and everything, and like that was. I mean, Costa Rica isn't third world, but that was some third world shit going down.
Man, I wrapped my own hands, right? I wrapped my own hands because everybody like just left, and I don't know what happened, you know. But wrapped my own hands. It was just crazy, right? Like there was no commission, there was no, I felt like his neck when I went for that guillotine because I dropped down, right?
And it was Valetudo, wasn't it?
It was Valetudo, yeah.
The
elbows, knees on the ground, right? Everything, anything, yeah. I think there was no soccer kicks. I think there was no soccer kicks, but everything else you could do.
No, they could kick in the head.
Oh, okay, also. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, like when you're on your, that's because I remember being so freaked out because like that dude was so oiled up, right? And you had him and the guillotine that would have been finished, it was all oiled up. And he got out of it, and you're up against the corner, and I'm there with the video camera.
You're right there.
Trying to be a good, I'm trying to be like a good DP, like a good director of photography, good camera guy. But it's also my friend's like life is at risk. I know that he can kick you in the head. And so
bombs, huh?
Dwayne Bulldog was his name or something.
Dwayne, was it Ludwig? Salazar?
Dwayne Ludwig.
No, that's my friend.
That's someone else.
What's his name? What was his name?
I don't know, but he went by Bulldog.
Ed Peddle.
Every country has. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
Salazar.
And so you're up against the corner, and he's trying to get in so he can get his soccer kicks, and he steps in the wrong spot, and you instantly go for the ankle lock. I think it was.
Right.
And you just come up, and I'm like, break that thing. I'm just like acting like a nutcase because I thought you were about to die. And all of a sudden you grab his leg and just end it. And the dude was so like, he was just so like what the fuck?
He's trying to kill me, right?
Look on his face. Like he was so ready to kill you. He thought he was going to kill you. He was doing so well. And then all of a sudden, well, there goes I don't know if it was ankle or his knee, but something was going to break.
Yeah.
He was hopping at the end.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And just the angle of the camera and the depth of field and like the green glow from the lights. And it felt like I was at in like Street Fighter 2 in the background. It's crazy stuff happening in the background of Street Fighter 2. Guys got like a chicken and like there's a cage full of like, dogs or something. And it just looks like this nuts environment. That's what it felt like. I felt like I was at like a Street Fighter 2 environment.
It's crazy, huh? It's crazy. Man. And then I remember you and Dr. Ryan you guys are so happy that because you thought he didn't tap, right? And because there was no rules, right? We thought maybe the ref was gonna be go again, right? Go again. But because we weren't sure like because I didn't let go, right? When I had the leg lock, he was tapping and I just kept the rules, right? In UFC and everything else is like the ref has to pull you off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think anything was like damaged long term, but he definitely wasn't walking straight after that for a little while. But yeah, that was so much fun. Just so like bootleg feeling, you know.
front row.
So underground.
With the camera. That thing is still online, right? The YouTube. I think a lot of
people
told me
they
watched
still on
it.
YouTube.
Yeah. Put that on. Put that on.
But I really I love that footage because it's so much different. Just the way it was shot, so much different than any sort of MMA.
It's raw. It's raw, right? It's
really raw, really raw. And well, speaking of which, so I've got this friend, Jeff Unai. He works at Valve, which is the company that makes the VR game I talked about. But he directed a documentary called The Cage Fighter, and it's funny. It's the best documentary best MMA documentary I've ever seen. But it's very little about MMA. It's more about the family of this fighter who's he's an amateur MMA fighter who's literally 40, 41 or something, 40, early 40s. He's a horrible fighter with a huge heart, and he's fighting behind his family's back, right? Because he just loves fighting so much. And so my buddy followed his life of him doing this, and he's in the house when the family finds out that he's been fighting. You know, it's coming home with bruises and stuff and saying it's just from doing pad work or whatever, just sparring, but he's been fighting. But this is the best MMA documentary I've ever seen.
Wow.
So The Cage Fighter, check it out.
Where's it at? On Netflix?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. And it's called what?
Yeah. The Cage Fighter.
The Cage Fighter on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. And it's cinema verite style, which means that in the documentary, there's no narration. It's literally just cameras that are just there in every scene, and you're just following everything that's going down. And it's really kind of heart wrenching just to see the struggle between the family, and this guy isn't a good fighter. That's the worst part, He
was what?
He's in his early 40s, and he's in amateur fights, and he's losing all the time.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're in your 40s, you're not getting paid for this, and you're losing almost all your fights. And he just has a huge heart, but his family's so frustrated with him, and it's just a really interesting biopic into a.
Probably relate to that, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you can too. I mean, but you're actually a good fighter.
But still, it's not easy. People think they see people on TV and you're making all this money. Even guys in the UFC and wherever, but it's a struggle, right? It's such a struggle.
Yep.
But you do it because you love it.
I'm sure that's something that a lot of fighters go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Kind of a little bit like stand-up comedy. It's kind of painful, but also rewarding.
I remember we went to Pasadena for, what was the name of the place, the comedy show?
The Ice House?
The Ice House.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long?
Oh yeah, you went to one of my shows. That was my first show ever, I think, or one of my first shows ever.
Yeah. We had it was Legacy, or the name of the gym was Legacy, right? At the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had our Legacy crew out there supporting you. Yeah. What made you want to do that?
I think just growing up, I was into creative writing, and always just been kind of goofy than most people. So something I'm kind of got into, and I think what it is I actually went to. It was probably just an open mic or something, and I was like, wow, these people are horrible, but some of them are getting laughs, and I can do better than them. And so I just started doing it, and it was just a creative outlet, like playing guitar or any kind of creative outlet. But I never wanted to do it to try to make it or anything. It was just kind of a way for me to be able to take the random ideas and thoughts I have, write them down, and make them into something ingestible.
You did that just for while you were here in LA?
Yeah, when I was working on Call of Duty, I was just doing stand-up at night for a couple of years.
That's cool.
It's fun, but it's also kind of a bad atmosphere. You're dealing with, every show is at a bar or, a comedy club, which is basically a bar with more comedy. And it's just easy just to get in the habit of just, drinking a couple of drinks beforehand. And obviously, if you're doing comedy a few times a week, that's not a good, healthy habit. And some of these comedy clubs are so bad that you kind of have to be drunk to even enjoy them. Yeah, so it wasn't like lifestyle-wise, yeah, it was fun, but it wasn't fulfilling in a lot of ways. I could take my creative skills and maybe work them into something else, skits or movies, games, something like that. I was actually making a game called Bartender. It's a bartending game in virtual reality.
Bartender?
Yeah, you're a bear.
Bartender.
Yeah, you're a bear bartender. Yeah, bartender. Hey, you're the first one to figure that out. A lot of people think it's like a gay app, like a gay dating app for bears.
Oh my God.
Finally, someone nailed it. They're like, oh, bartending as a bear.
Man, you've always been so creative, man. It's crazy. You're always like doing cool stuff, different stuff.
Yeah, I like to stay involved in random stuff where I get bored. But yeah, it was a game where you're a bear bartender and you're literally mixing drinks for various animal clientele. And so I had all this like Google Doc of pages of just like jokes and concepts that I had written down that I never really wrote as jokes. And a lot of it was animal-based humor, which is, I don't know why I come up with a lot of random animal ideas, but I did. And I rewrote that into drunk animal dialogue. So basically, as the animals get more wasted, you're serving them more drinks.
Dialogue.
Yeah, because the animals come in, you might have like a goat sitting next to a chicken. So what's the goat and the chicken talk about when they get drunk,
Yeah. What do they talk about? What would they talk about? Tell me a script.
Well, okay, for instance, like there was this horse, and he always talks about being pre-op, like pre-operation, but you realize he's not a gay horse. He's just a centaur that hasn't got his human body yet.
Oh, okay.
That was a stupid idea. Maybe a better one.
What's that?
Hold on. I'm trying to recall. I haven't looked at this stuff for years. What else was there? There was, I barely remember. I'll think of it later. But
that's cool. But you always thought of like different things. You're always pushing. I mean, even with this Call of Duty, like you were part of the original people, right? That kind of created this whole thing.
Yeah, original 22. Yeah, that's what brought me out to LA.
That's crazy, man. That was the biggest. That was the biggest entertainment. What do you call that?
That's the biggest entertainment franchise of the 2000s, I believe.
Of the 2000s, wow.
At least for games, if you add up all the Call of Duty games.
But even it was bigger than movies or anything else, right? Of how much money it brought in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what's, maybe Star Wars could be bigger or something like that. But as far as games go, I'm fairly certain that it's the number one franchise of the last 20 years.
Crazy. I remember you had me come in and do a voiceover or a voice for a favela guy. Was that for Call of Duty?
Yeah, favela guys. Yeah, that was for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think. Yeah, because that's when they had the favelas.
You went to the favelas in Brazil.
So yeah, you came in and did like temp dialogue placement, and I don't know if any of you we ended up hiring, some voice actors, but I don't know if any of maybe there's a chance that your voice is still in that game. If some of the temp dialogue worked out.
I remember you put on the guns GBBJJ72 when we were Gracie Baja.
Yeah, on the Boss 12 shotgun.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you shot the gun, you could see it if you paid attention.
Yeah, right on the side of the serial number.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't think anybody really noticed that, because there's not that many, relative to the amount of people out there, how many people are specifically training at Gracie Baja playing that game and how many would notice. And out of the people that do train at Gracie Baja, a lot of the white belts don't even know what GB72 means.
Right.
Or they don't find out until later. So,
man, that's crazy. It was like 2009. Was it 2009 that we started?
Yeah, that's about right. 2009 was Modern Warfare 1, so I think
that's crazy.
Maybe late 2009, early 2010.
2009. Man, that was when did Facebook start?
Facebook? Oh, gosh. Facebook was around years before. Most of us used it because it was for colleges only.
Right.
It was early 2000s.
But it started to get popular around 2000. around that time, right? 2008, because before that was like MySpace. Like I remember 2008,
Yeah, yeah. Well, they opened it
2007.
up to everybody outside of college.
So that was around that time, right? Like 2009 ish.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably when it started popping.
It's crazy. And then and then I remember I got my first iPhone at that time too.
iPhone 4.
I'm not sure. It was one of the first ones, and I remember
Uh,
it taking pictures and being like super excited, that it took like decent
yeah.
pictures. And actually, then the next one was video, right? You could video. Man, that's crazy.
Yep.
Virtual reality now. Man, it's scary. I
Yeah,
know.
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, just like interesting time, right? I was for a while there. I was just like researching and just looking at a lot of videos on artificial intelligence and those kinds of things, and I just kind of started to, I don't know, get kind of sad, like I felt like not so important, like I really
Yeah,
mattered,
yeah.
anymore. And I just kind of, I don't know, man. It got me like in a bad, just not in a good mindset, So I kind of stopped like
Yeah.
looking at it, but I just also changed my mindset. And I was like, man, like if a lot of some guys, like the predictions come true, like just at the end of the day, like just be a good person, right? And treat people good and try to do the right thing, with that. And
Yeah, it's definitely some rabbit holes you can get down in YouTube, and some of that stuff will be true, and some of it's speculation.
but just the human connection, just like caring, and I don't know, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I definitely stopped like just thinking about those things, and I don't know, just have faith, I guess, in however it's gonna go, right? No matter what happens.
Yeah, I think the transition will be slow enough that it won't be painful. I think we'll figure out the downfalls as it's coming and hopefully fix them. And
man,
yeah,
I joke with the
hard to say
guys.
what will happen there.
Are you gonna go robots, or are you gonna stay human?
Well, we are robots. We're already cyborgs
with our phones, right?
You think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only difference is that the input from our phone to our brain has really bad bandwidth.
Right.
You can't upload information as fast as a computer, and that's what Elon Musk is. One of his companies is working on.
Neuralink, like right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is supposed to increase the rate of uptake. So I don't know how that'll work, but
until somebody hacks into it.
Yeah, exactly.
China hacks into it, and like all of a sudden you're gay, or
we get a coronavirus on our cyborg CPUs. Like
what the heck?
Yeah.
Be interesting. It's because it's not your own body, right? Putting something like that in there.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, right?
You
think that's gonna happen, right? More and more and more.
Pretty sure, yeah. I mean, if you look at simulation theory, if you look at the rate of human advancement, only one of two things can happen.
Exponential growth.
We get to the point where what's that?
The exponential growth of the speed and how it's happening, right? With this AI.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what will happen is either we get to the point where we can build computers that simulate entire realities, which is starting to happen now, or we end up killing each other off until like before we get to that point. Like look how fast like things have come. If you think of, did you play? You probably played the original Atari, like 2600 or something.
Yes,
Not the original, but it was a popular one. And you remember playing, Pitfall or like Pong or River Raid or some
Asteroids,
of those games,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you look at, if you were to try the Half-Life Alyx in VR, it's amazing. Like in about 40 years, where we've come. Even if you look at 20 years, like where we've come. We've gone through just a few dots, through moving on a screen to entire environments that you can step into and explore like they're real life.
That's crazy.
And 40 years is nothing when you look at human history, So where are we going to be in 500 years, which is still pretty much nothing in human history.
Where do you think we're going to be in 25 years? We're in 2020
that's a pretty
now,
big
right?
question. Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to VR and stuff, I mean, that's going to get closer to being indistinguishable from real life. I mean, now the way it is, you know that you're in VR, but there's moments where you lose yourself in it, and you just kind of forget about the fact that you're in VR, and you just kind of accept this new reality that you're exploring. Like your brain kind of fills in the gaps, and you just get comfortable, and then before you know it, like you react in a way that would only make sense in real life. You know, like for instance, you forget that this couch or this chair isn't really there, and you try to sit down, and you're like, oh wait, I'm in VR. You know. So I think we're just going to get more life like VR. In 25 years, we'll probably have a lot of restrictions and laws around it, considering you could either help PTSD with it or you could cause PTSD with it. Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
What about the robots? Are we gonna?
I don't think
we're gonna create our own species of robots.
I don't know if we'll have like humanoid robots just going around autonomously, like they're kind of cyborg humans, but
because
like, sure
what's that guy's name for Google? That engineer, the main guy. He invented like the scanner and like the voice recognition. He's like
not sure.
Ray Kurzweil.
Ray Kurzweil.
Kurzweil. Yes.
Yeah. He also has a keyboard company.
He has
Kurzweil
what?
Keyboards. Like, so I knew about this guy as the owner of the keyboard company, like musical keyboards, like piano keyboards, you know? Called Kurzweil. They're a really well-known brand of like, keyboards, organs, and whatnot. I had no idea that this guy was a futurist, and that, like, most people knew him as someone who wrote books and predicted about things in the future. But he's been pretty accurate, you know.
Kind of scarily accurate. That's why I'm kind of curious on your opinion on these things, since you're into.
Yeah, but like think about. Yeah, it sounds scary, but if you think 20 years ago, or even like 30 years ago, if someone told you that, we'd all have this device on us that has a GPS that's tracking us, people would be staring at the screen that they have in their pocket for hours of a day. Like that sounds really scary to me, like 30 years ago, right?
Right.
And now we're here, and it probably should be scarier than it is, the whole staring at our phone for hours a day.
Right.
But we're here, and it's not as scary as it would have been if we thought about it 30 years ago.
Yeah, I guess it takes time, right? We transition into it. We have enough time, like you're saying, to kind of get used to the newness, right? But if we think about it,
yeah, it's like getting old, But
that's
think of your age now. Right?
No, I was gonna like where he says like there's going to be more robots. We're basically I don't know how it's going to be, right? But there's going to be more robots than humans around the next turn of the century. So in 80 years. So and like the
I'm sure what the number is now. It could be
the robots are going to be like going to be citizens, and so we're basically creating our evolution, I guess, in a way, our new species, right?
Yep, for sure.
For sure. Oh man.
For sure.
I can't even, I don't know. Like I was telling you, it was getting me like, oh man, to wrap my head around it, but it's just, is what it is, right? Like,
maybe they'll do a good like jiu-jitsu robot. You can actually fight back.
Man, like the athletes, right? Just the stuff that they can put into their, like the different parts of their body parts. Right? We're going to be cyborgs. Or we're cyborgs with our phone, but just it's going to be like a futuristic movie, right? Like having different parts.
Yeah, there's already runners that are faster than regular humans. Regular humans, it sounds horrible. I should probably rephrase that.
Say that again.
There's runners who have amputated legs.
Yes, right.
That have replaced their legs with like these
Blade Runner,
very springy.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And they can't compete against people with regular fleshy legs because they're faster.
That's crazy, huh? So you could just change out different parts on your body to become faster or whatever you need, right?
Yeah.
To do things better.
I think I just like to stay slow and keep my legs.
Interesting times. Now with all this pandemic, they shut down. It's where everybody's going online, right? More and more now because we have to just to kind
Yeah,
of
we've
connect
got
with people.
like 5x the users. Like since January, we've 5x the users just because everyone's going online to work remotely.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What about 5G?
What's that?
What's your
The
opinion on
5G?
like 5G?
It's a lot faster and a lot more responsive.
What about like side effects? Do you?
I've seen stuff, and like there's so many like rabbit holes online that people start reading into, and then before you know it, they think that they know more than all the experts in the field. Because here's the thing: this is what happens. Like you've got some kind of issue or topic, right? And you might have like a 97% consensus, but 3% of the scientists could be like hundreds of scientists. And you're like, hey, look, we've got hundreds of scientists that are saying that this is wrong. Or hundreds of doctors that are saying that, coronavirus is actually like this. Well, that seems like a big number. But if you're ignoring the 97% of other doctors that are, saying the opposite, well, that's hundreds versus thousands, and so the thing is, you can always scrounge up enough people, experts, quote unquote, to back up some kind of ridiculous theory. Yeah, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're sensible. There are dumb doctors out there, or there are
for sure.
Smart doctors out there that go down a rabbit holes that don't have a grasp on. They just get into this rabbit hole and they become this one voice that's saying, no, it's actually like this. And then people get behind that because people like the idea of like something different, like, that goes against the grain. And then before you know it, they think that this is really how it is because there's now 7 doctors that are saying this. And they're like, look at all these experts saying this crazy batshit stuff. Well, there's thousands of people that say they're wrong. So which one do you want to believe?
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with this coronavirus situation, right? I mean, for me at least, it's hard to know what's real. Is this all hype? Is it real?
It's hard,
Is it, what's going on? What's the real deal? How long is this thing gonna last? I mean, I would think that there'd be like more cell phones if, I don't know, people going at least into the hospitals, like even hospital workers, just like videoing like the craziness, but I haven't really seen anything, it's just like regular news and just.
You're not allowed to do that. That's why, like, you can't just, there's laws against going in the hospital and just filming the patients. Like I've seen some and it's usually feet. I saw some in Italy, Iran.
Oh, you did?
Places that might not. Yeah. I've seen like
send me a
videos
couple
of people breathing really hard. Like,
okay.
Yeah, okay. And like for me, I just look at the data. There's some websites that aggregate all data that are coming out of every country, and obviously those numbers aren't going to be perfect. But I think it's better to look at the data and look at how many people are still getting it and dying, than to listen to the media, which is going to hype stuff up, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, man, they're the headlines, right? It's like the cases doubled. Like, well, we weren't testing, right? So once you start testing people, of course it's gonna double, in a couple days or whatever, It's like, come on,
exactly.
Yeah. So and then people are like, oh, even more scared, like, oh my god, it's just out of control. It's like, man, everybody probably has it.
Yeah, it's really tough because think about it. You have to eventually say how many lives is going back to work worth. That has to be said at some point.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to the point where this virus is just completely gone. If we waited to go back to work when this virus is gone, we'd be working from home for years probably. Right. So there's people right now that are getting upset and, we'll say that any politician or any people that are, trying to get people back to work soon, they're evil and bad or something. But they're going to have to make that same decision too.
Right.
It might be with less people dying, but at a certain point, people are deciding how many lives are okay to sacrifice for us to go back to work.
Right.
And some people are asking judging sooner than later.
Yeah. And
it's because, like I said, you can't objectively figure out how many deaths, a bad economy leads to. And it's not just like death. Sometimes having a bad economy means dad starts drinking and hitting family or something, right. There's all these overlying factors that can't be measured and can't be directly attached to the economy and said, well, because, we decided to favor the economy in this situation, this amount of people have been helped or saved or hurt or whatever not, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting times, media and
Sure.
hype. It's just like, you don't know what to believe, same thing with the 5G. Like I heard people say stuff about the 5G, like, and how it's, caused the coronavirus, and I don't know, it's like intertwined somehow.
Yeah, I saw that's crazy talk right there. Like, there's this lady on Facebook. She was like, yeah, they can turn the 5G up to 6G and turn it up to 7G. Doesn't even make any sense. G stands for generation. Is there like a generation dial? Or it's like you dial it up. Ooh, now we're 6th generation. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Like, see, I have no idea. I have no idea what the G even means, right?
It's generation. Right. It's just talking about first, 2G is 2nd generation technology, 3G is 3rd generation. And do you think, like, yeah, it's probably not good to like stand right next to one, but I really think that all these scientists and experts that would, if they knew that this was causing, whether it's cancer or sickness or something, I think a lot of them would speak out. It's not like there's some big conspiracy where these scientists are getting together and they're hiding the fact that 5G kills people, but they still want to have it out there. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, like I said, you'll find a few quote unquote experts that may be experts that might support that, but if 90+% is saying that they're wrong, it's probably the 90+% that's correct.
Yeah. Oh man.
Sometimes they're wrong though.
Yeah. It's crazy, yeah. Crazy world.
Yeah.
Crazy world. Man, great talking to you, man. Well, cool. Actually, I wanted to ask you about the dog. The dog. You have a conferencing software as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Ask you about that.
Rumii. Yeah, Doghead Simulations is my company, and Rumii is the software.
Okay. And
yeah,
how does
that? So like I mentioned. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just gonna ask you how is it different from like Zoom, for example?
Well, I touched a little on this earlier, but basically, because VR allows you to feel present in a place, you can really simulate the feeling of being with other people. Yet you're in your bedroom in VR, in VR glasses, right? And so, for instance, you can create a team, go in there, meet other people that are in VR, put up videos, put up a PowerPoint, a keynote, 3D models. So if you're an architect, you could actually import a 3D model of a house and walk through it and talk about design decisions with the client in a different part of the world. And you're walking through it in scale. So the size and everything else is like it would be in real life. Or maybe you're teaching a class, like you're a company like Siemens or an aerospace company that teaches, how to build jet turbines.
Right.
Well, in that case, like what they'll do is they'll fly people from like Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Chile, all over this one classroom in probably like, Texas or something.
Right.
Pay for all their flights, their hotels, and teach them how to work on an engine or teach them the parts, the anatomy of the engine or whatnot. Well, this, you just bring in a 3D model of the engine, and everyone can be at home in VR glasses and actually walk around it, take the pieces out, and just instruct, have a class like you would in person.
Can you buy those glasses from your company, or do you go
No, we don't sell them. We're just the software makers, so hardware will be bought from someone else. You can get Best Buy has the Oculus Quest and the Go. Quest is probably out of stock now, but
Amazon,
just because everyone's isolated.
Amazon has it.
Yeah, it's really cool. Sorry?
Amazon probably has it, right? I assume.
Yeah, Amazon, but there's a chance that they're overpriced on Amazon because people are reselling them because they're out of stock.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like, for instance, Harvard has used this to have an Egyptology class with students in China. So you've got kids in China that are in VR, with kids in Boston that are in VR, with a PhD in Egyptology, teaching them, and they're learning inside of an actual pyramid environment. So the classroom is a pyramid with hieroglyphics as they're learning about Egyptology.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the matrix of meetings, learning, teaching classes.
Yeah, it just saves so much time, right? I mean, travel. I mean, I've been going to these conferences, like these neuroscience things, and so it's like 2 days of travel, right? And if you can take that away,
Yep.
and then have
For
dinner
sure.
with your family, and sleep at home, like it's worth it.
It's nice. Like
it's definitely worth
I
it.
think a lot of people are trying remote work right now, and they're going to be like, hey, we should probably do this like a week out of the month or something. You save money, you save the environment. You're not, polluting, driving to work in LA sometimes 1 hour each way,
Yeah.
And you're less stressed. You have extra time, more time with your family, more time to eat healthy, go to the gym. That's why I can't it's going to be hard for me to ever take a job where I have to go to an office,
Yeah.
like 9-10 hours a day, 5 days a week. And just, I don't have to. If even if I'm making like 40% less, just having that freedom is totally worth it.
Yeah.
But the software is called Rumii. You can get it on Steam, which is mostly known for where you get PC video games, but they also have pretty much everything VR there. We're also our website, dogheadsimulations.com. You can download us there. We're 100% free during the pandemic.
Great.
So anyone's listening to this, even if you don't have a VR headset, you can use it. So if you have kind of a mix of people with VR headsets and some with not, everyone can attend the same meeting. And we're usually $15 per person per month. And now we're just free up to 40 people in the same room.
That's amazing.
Just trying to keep the gears of the economy kind of running,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely have to hopefully I can find one now. I'll find somebody at the gym for sure that has one. They can show me how the experience.
Yeah, Oculus Quest would be good just to kind of try it. And, there's the cool thing about VR is that there's a lot of games that you get exercise in. You're moving your whole body. If you're doing like a first-person shooter, if there was like a VR Call of Duty, you'd be hunkered behind, like a small wall, crouched and then popping up and shooting, and so it's cool because especially when esports is growing, I'll be honest, I didn't think esports was gonna become what it is.
EA Sports?
No, esports, like basically competitive video games.
Oh, esports. I'm sorry.
Now the fastest. Yeah. It's growing faster than, I don't know, maybe every actual sport.
Wow.
I think the problem was the marketing. They call it sports, and people are like, well, these aren't athletes. And you can call it competitive gaming. It's the same thing. It's just a terminology that turns some people off. But NASCAR just had a simulated race where basically the pro drivers are at home driving on their racing rigs with the steering wheel and pedals and everything. And they're televising the actual race. All these pro drivers at home. And they have an announcer and everything. It really, you flip through and you would think that was just a regular NASCAR race. You wouldn't even notice initially that it was a computer simulation.
Man, this pandemic, more than anything, it's going to change the world, in so many different ways, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of people are going to be innovative and solving issues that we didn't have before. Esports are going to be huge. Working remotely is going to be huge, or is huge. I'm actually right now I'm working with Atlantic Council as a consultant. It's a big Washington D.C. group. They were formed after World War II, and I think they were mostly responsible for putting the North American Trade Organization. And so I'm working with the Rockefeller Foundation back entity down in Miami. It's their thing is climate resilience.
Wow.
And so they basically have me as a consultant to take a lot of investment and find ways to make gamers more resilient to the climate. So it could be anything from hurricanes to sea level rise to mass migration of people, due to it getting too hot, all these different issues. But it's a pretty interesting gig.
Wow, man, you're always into just next level, not even next level. It's way beyond levels in my mind. I'm just I'm on the mat. I'm doing jiu-jitsu, and then I'm like, oh, what's going on, Chance? Oh, actually, I'm doing this. I'm a consultant for the Rockefeller Foundation. I'm talking to this government industry, group and da da da.
It's kind of crazy because
I'm on and I just created this this Call of Duty game, and then it comes out the next month, and it's the biggest video game ever. It's crazy.
I'm too ADD to focus on one thing. I gotta like that's why, like, man, like I got to tell you, like the first time that I came into your gym and you just showed me, you know, how to escape mount, like that changed my life.
Changed your
Something
life.
so simple, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like I didn't have any, you know. Okay, so before that, the only martial arts I'd ever done was down in Woodland Hills. It was like a Tang Sudo place, which is basically Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And it was totally a McDojo. You know, I was there for like a month and got my first belt, right? And I'm just like doing this, and I'm like, I think this is just giving me a false sense of confidence if I ever got in a fight.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
Like this would not. Yeah, I just kind of figured out on my own. And, yeah, this is not. It's good exercise and there's value in it, but it's not like I might as well become a better fighter if I'm going to do martial arts, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And training for months and months and months and being 2% a better fighter, that's not how it should be. If you train 6 months in jiu-jitsu with no experience, you're going to be like 3-4x a better fighter, you know, than you were with no experience. And so I was watching Pride with one of our designers and one of our artists at one of their houses, watching Pride. And I'd gone there a few times just to watch Pride with them. And then Ryan, who was a blue belt, said, "Hey, there's a new gym that opened up down the street from work, like, you know, like 7 or 8 blocks. You should go check it out. It's Alberto Crane is there, and he was, you know, King of the Cage champion for a while, like they knew who you were." And he said, like, that's definitely you should go because, you know, it's really good and he's really close. So give it a shot. And so I went there and he showed me like escape from mount and then probably like armbar or triangle or something basic, right? And
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is like problem solving.
Yeah.
You know, engineering.
Yeah. Huh. I always find it interesting that just really smart people are attracted to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. It's crazy how many killers came up from that gym early on, you know?
Edwin Najmi.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys.
Just a bunch of beasts. And I'm all left behind with my...
Let's get you back in. We'll do some classes together during this quarantine.
Yeah. Are you doing jiu-jitsu and tac fit?
We're gonna do. I'm gonna do. I mean, you can only do it by yourself, right? So many things, but we'll do some tac fit. It's all integrated, right? Like, you know, your elbows. You don't want them out. You want them in, right? When you're passing the guard.
Yeah, exactly.
All the things. So all the. It's the same thing, you know. You're building that structure, and that'll translate to jiu-jitsu. It just make you better, get you moving better, which makes you feel better, which makes you better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for your time, man. Really, like, let's be in touch, and I'll definitely message you on doing a class. You know.
Yeah, let me know.
Maybe today, if you're free, if you have time.
Cool. Yeah, just send me the info. I'll see if I can maybe make it.
Sounds good.
So good, man. Good to talk to you. And let me know when this thing's up somewhere.
Good. Will do.
See ya.
Thanks, brother. Talk to you soon.